So what we have is another AEG drill, and this time it's a rotary hammer drill. It's a really big, heavy-duty one. So I've actually had this since a couple of months ago. I probably got it in mid-October. Just haven't gotten around to even taking it out of the box. But as you can see here, I guess the Schroeder brothers owned this before me. That's engraved in there. But the cool thing about this is it actually came with all these bits right here. And it did come with the depth gauge, which is almost always missing. But it also comes with a round chuck as well. And I believe these AEG hammer drills have a special bit holder. It doesn't use an SDS type holder. It uses this groove right here to lock it in place. So if you ever see one of these and you don't have bits with this groove, you might have a problem getting them to adapt to this type of drill. So it looks like the people before me were just using this chuck and then actually just inserting all these bits into that chuck. So it looks like it's a 1/2-inch capacity chuck. The other cool thing about this is it actually came with the original manual, which is very rare. Yeah, I can't even find an electronic copy of these because the 110 volt versions of these tools really, they must not have sold very many. So I wonder if this place is still in business. Cass Industrial Supply. I guess that's where they originally bought this, in the Bronx. So yeah, the manual's not in the best condition. As you can see, there's a lot of mold. Paper has been molded away, but it's still definitely readable. So if you take a look here, it's basically just gives you the instructions on how to operate the drill. So we got the tool holder. So basically you turn this piece 180 degrees to actually lock in. I guess it rotates a piece of metal in that groove. Yeah, and there you go. There's a, looks like to use normal drill bits you have to use some kind of collet. And there's what an AEG drill bit would look like. You have to have that little groove right there. Yeah, you definitely don't see instructions like this anymore. You'd be lucky to even get a one-page instruction. I think you can actually have chisels in here. And then there's some maintenance instructions. That's how to replace the cable. Here's how to replace the brushes. And then this is really cool. They actually have the schematic in here in the manual. And you can see this is definitely a pretty detailed. There's a lot more to this tool than I thought there would be. So you can see here it actually has a real spring for the rotary hammer. It's not just a ratcheting type thing that we've seen on the smaller hammer drills. But look at all those washers there. That's really strange to see that. Not sure why they didn't just put a spacer in there. But it kind of looks like those are spring washers. Belleville washers or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's going to be interesting. And then we actually have the parts list here, all in German. And it does look like 3 different voltage versions of this. We have a 220, a 110, and a 42 volt. I don't think I've ever seen a 42 volt drill. And then it looks like these are all the accessories right here. All different drill bit sizes, hammer drill bit sizes. And there's the carrying case. Now it didn't come with this. Yeah, I wish I could find that case. Looks like it comes with all types of collets as well here. Looks like the rest is just service instructions. We guarantee for 6 months from the date of sale. And it's been longer than 6 months. First thing we got is the depth gauge. It looks original. And it's actually a composite. Probably nylon, glass-filled nylon. But these are almost always missing because I think people break them because they are plastic. And then we got that handle, of course. And then we have what looks like the original ROM chuck. And it definitely appears to be locked. Oh, that's moving. It's very, very sticky. So it definitely needs some lubrication there. But it looks like it's in pretty good condition. And then we got a whole bunch of drill bits. Rotary. So what's interesting is these are from a company I don't think I've ever even heard of. I think that says Joran. Is that Joran? Or Oran? Made in Denmark. So that's pretty unusual. I don't think I've ever seen. And it looks like they made a little bit of sharpening, but I'm guessing this is some kind of hardened, maybe carbide tip here. And the rest is just plain steel. So it looks like we got, that's a 1 1/4 there. And then this one is another Joran. And it looks to be 3/8. So this one looks like it's totally, I don't know what happened here. Well, look at that. It's like somebody tried to put that in a tool it wasn't designed for. This one is totally scratched off, can't even tell what that says. Here's another one, and this one is 3/4. And then we got a 1 inch. We got 5/8. Then we got one of these spiral bits. Those 3/4 USA, Super USA. And then we got another 3/8. It's like another 3/8. So we got 4 3/8. Here's a fourth one. 4 3/8 drill bit, and then this one might be. This one's really rusted. It looks like it's another. It's like a 1 1/4 maybe. 1 1/8, something like that. Okay, so we'll set the drill bits and whatnot aside. And I literally haven't even turned this thing on or plugged it in, so it may not even work. But it was supposed to work. But plug it in. So we'll probably have to replace that cord. But whoever did it, they did a pretty good job of replacing that, probably 20 years ago or so. It looks like the cord is actually pretty good. I bet you this is not original. So we'll go ahead and plug this in and see what we get. Alright, it's plugged in. I didn't get shocked, so that's good. So let's see if this thing actually runs. Whew. Oh, that thing is loud. So it's definitely not variable speed. It sounds like it needs some lubrication. Well, let's go ahead and put it up, bring it up to full speed for a second here. Yeah, definitely, thing's got some power. Alright, well, we know at least works. So that's a good sign. Okay, so time to start taking this thing apart. I think the first thing I'll do is I'll take out these 4 slotted screws, and that should allow us to access the power cord. Alright, so let's see if this thing pops open. Okay. So we do have this little piece of paper. Can't really read what it says. It does say 110. It does say BH25, but nothing else useful there. That's an unusual trigger switch there. So it looks like when you pull down on it, it actually pulls up something, contact. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Probably just to work with the space they got here. So it does look like we have a capacitor down here. I'm not sure if that's factory original or not. It definitely looks like there's a splice made right there. And boy, look at all the cracking here on this ground wire, so we'll definitely need to replace that. But it doesn't look like there's any cracking here. Looks like somebody pinched the wire in there. So it looks like these two holes go down into here to hold that switch in place. Alright, so let's go ahead and pop the power cord out of here. They didn't use threaded inserts here, and they didn't use self-tapping screws either. So it looks like they actually threaded the case, the plastic. Yeah, that's what appears to happen there. So that's really surprising. I guess they figured they make it long enough, it doesn't really matter. Because you have so many threads engaging, it spreads out the load. Okay. Looks like we need to take this bracket off to get to the brush holders. Got all different size screws here, so go ahead and pop these. Let's see if we can pop these brush holders out. It definitely looks like we got a lot of brush left there, so that's good. So we should be, these look like just disconnects, so we should be able to pull these off. Yeah, there we go. Looks like the brush is stuck in there. There it goes. Yeah, we still got, and those are pretty thick brushes. Still got quite a bit left on there. So we'll go ahead and disconnect the rest of the electrical components here. And we'll just go ahead and cut the wire here so we can get rid of the power cord. So let's see if we can pop the rest of the case off here. It looks like right here is a ground screw. I'll go ahead and take that out. And yeah, that's insulation is cracking. I think the next thing, it looks like this is going to come off together. You'll have to take these two socket cap and those two over there. Yeah, you can definitely tell this thing has been taken apart for a long time. So something else holding it in. So let's take off this piece right here. couple more socket caps way in there. So we'll see if we can get them out. Oh yeah, oh, those are really loose. And then we should be able to pop the gearbox open here. Boy, man, that thing is like almost dry. So looks like this piece popped out. I think that went in there. And that's probably our rotary ratchet there that controls the spring as it goes around, pops back, and then. Alright, so not sure where this came out of. This ball bearing, I think it was in there. I do remember seeing that, so we have to remember that that ball bearing went right in there. So you can see here we got a bearing, an FAG, which is a very good bearing company. Alright, so we'll just use a center punch here to knock out the armature. Well, I started banging on that and I didn't see any movement. So whenever that happens, you should stop and reevaluate. So I moved away some of the grease here and I saw these two little holes, and I bet you these are socket cap screws in here. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Normally this is press fit into a bearing, but in here it looks like it's not. It might just be a bushing in there. There's actually a third one in here that I missed. Alright, now let's see if it'll come out. So this was super annoying. It looks like they filled these holes with some kind of epoxy holding in the field windings. I'm not sure why they did that, but I was able to scrape away enough in that one hole to actually expose the screw head. So yeah, I'm not sure why they felt like they needed to put that epoxy in there. Alright, looks like we finally got it. Looks like to get this out, there's some socket cap screws in there, which will release this piece right here, which appears to be epoxy down. That's what this white stuff is. I'm not sure if this is going to go flying or not because of that spring, so we'll have to point it away from us. This looks like we can take this off. This looks like some kind of gasket. Okay, so that one's off. That one's off. So, okay, so that's how you get it on. Alright, hold on. This thing's falling out here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7. Boy, look at all these. Looks like that one is special. That one goes on the end of the spring. Alrighty, so it looks like I got a circlip here. Let's see if we got the right size. Alright, there we go. What we'll do is we'll take these screws out. Yep, that should just pop right out. So yeah, that bearing, that needle bearing should, or that thrust bearing I should say, will come right out. Looks like, get this off, we gotta get this rubber piece off first. Looks like an O-ring. Okay. And then after that, this should slide right out. So that's the only thing holding those in is that grommet, that O-ring. So let's see if we can get this gear out. Alright, finally got that gear off. That thing was really on there. So we got a keyway, we got a spacer, and then the bearing. So just on a quick side note, anytime I have a really dirty job like this, I like to use this Ballistol to actually clean the tools off. You don't want to be cross-contaminating you know, your screwdrivers with this nasty grease. But this stuff tends to do pretty good. You could also use isopropanol alcohol as well. But the good thing about this is it actually leaves a little bit of oil on the metal, prevent corrosion. I think that's going to about wrap this up for this teardown of the AEG BH25. Stay tuned for part 2, where we actually try to restore this thing, and that should be pretty interesting. So catch you guys next time.